This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, just give me one quick second. Okay, fine. So the other day, the other week, what we were discussing about is that we said firstly what are resource groups in Azure, and then we said okay, fine. Inside a resource group, how can you create something known as a storage account? And then we said okay, fine. How can you store files or save files in something like a storage account? And then we said if going by the portal, it becomes too manual of a work to go ahead and create something. If let's say if you were to create just one particular storage account, it's easy. But if let's say you have a requirement to create like about 20 or 30 storage accounts at one go, it'll take a lot of human effort. And that's when we introduced something known as PowerShell IC. And we said, okay, we will first have to install something known as Azure modules in PowerShell to get started. And then we went ahead and let's say got our modules installed, and then we were logging in and we are doing a lot of management using the PowerShell and etc. And we said we did a couple of demos on using for loops and for each loops and etc. in order to go ahead and iterate on resources and all that stuff. And the last what we tried is that we went ahead and we created multiple storage accounts in multiple SKUs, and we said okay, fine, let's scale it down to, let's say, let's scale everything down to something like LRS. If a storage account, if three different storage accounts and three different SKUs like GRS, LRS, and etc., we wanted to only capture that particular storage account which is not in LRS and get it down to something like LRS. This is something that we discussed. Now what let's do is that yes, we created a storage account, great, but let's say that I have couple of files in my local machine. Okay, let's say for example, I have multiple folders, I have multiple files here. Like there are a lot of text documents which are system generated logs for me. And even in your case, you might have many folders like this, many files like this in the real time environment, right? So let's say as a DevOps engineer, the requirement is that whenever you create a storage account, you create a container inside it and also upload files inside the container, like a complete end to end, telling it okay, fine, I need a storage account, great, you're creating a storage account for me, please go ahead, create also a container inside a storage account, because container is that particular service which will help you hold all your files and etc. Since you also basically went ahead and let's say did a container, I have a couple of I have a folder inside which I have a lot of log files out here. Please take all those log files and also upload them out. Like this is the requirement that I do have. So let's try to see how to approach this out, and let's try to understand what we need and etc. So again, breaking things down, i I would say I have like a three-step approach, or I will basically divide it into, let's say, something like, firstly, I need to find out a way to go ahead and create a storage account using PowerShell. So even before storage account, it should be resource group. So a resource group, a storage account, and after this I will need to create something known as a storage container. I will need to create something known as a storage container here. And after this, in the created container, I need to upload the files. I need to upload all the files. And I'm specifically targeting this particular folder, but I am specifically targeting the .text files in this particular folder. Only the .text files out here. So not the folders, nothing. These are all the logs basically that I want to capture, and I want to go ahead and upload things out. So this is what I want to do. Upload files, but I want to only upload files that have an extension of .txt. This is what I want to actually go ahead and do. So this is the approach that I want to follow. So what let's do is that I'll come down to my PowerShell and let me begin by giving a couple of parameters out here. So I will say $rg name, and I'm declaring the rg names and etc. So I will say this is blob rg, since we are doing a lot of blobs and etc. I'll say it is a blob rg. And here I'm also parameterizing or also hard coding the storage account name. So I need the resource group, the storage account, the container also. So I'll say storage account name, is equal to something like blob stor account to abc 000, something like this. Just that the storage account name is unique and etc. So I'm just creating a random string out here so that the name can be unique. Third, I need the name of the container. So I'll say container name. I'll say test container. I have the container name. I am saying that it's a test container, and I also want to upload the files, right? So I'll say folders or file path. I'm giving a value for the file path, and I'm saying this is the entire path. C Windows temp. This is the path basically I'm giving out here. Okay, not copied. And once this is pasted, I will just go ahead and execute these four lines so that the parameters get a particular value out here. So I'm just executing these particular lines out here. Parameters is getting a value. So all these things are executed and now able to store all the parameters out here. Great. Now what I will do is like I don't have a resource group. I have nothing in my Azure account. So my Azure account is absolutely clean right now. So since I do not have anything, what I will do is that I'll start with creation of a resource group. Now you can do if else firstly to check whether the resource group exists or not and then go ahead and create it out. But since we have already seen that, I'm just going ahead and writing a one-liner command telling that new hyphen az resource group hyphen the name hyphen the location. So I'll say okay fine new hyphen az resource group hyphen name of the resource group is what? What can I do here guys? What should be the name here? Dollar $rg name. I'll say dollar $rg name hyphen then I say a parameter called location and I will say this is something like East US2. And once this is done, I will say okay fine go ahead and create me a resource group firstly. So it is running a script in the backend and it went ahead and created a resource group for me known as blob rg in that particular location known as East US2. Now what I'll do is that I have a storage account created. Now, sorry, I have a resource group created. I now need to go ahead and create a storage account inside it. So the second line of my script is to create a storage account. So I'll say new hyphen. What should be the command here, guys? Hazy storage account. So I'll say storage account, and then I will pass the mandatory parameters that are required out here. I'll say this is firstly the resource group name, and I'll say it is $rg name, then hyphen name of the storage account. I'll say dollar storage account name. This is something that I'm taking. And I'll say SKU name. I'll say it is standard LRS. And I'll say hyphen location. I will say again East US2. I'm hard coding a couple of values out here. Then kind storage V2. Access tier hot. So I'm just making sure to give a one-liner command where I'm basically telling okay fine this is the resource group name and etc. And I'll say okay fine execute this out. And it'll take a couple of minutes and it'll go ahead and create a storage account for me. So this is what we were doing the last time that we met. We said okay fine we can create multiple storage accounts using the for loops and for each loops and etc. And we said how to read the property of a storage account and etc. Let's do that and let's get this created. Okay, so I got this created. Now this after this now this is where I am. So I went ahead, I created a resource group and a storage account. Now step number two is where I am right now. I need to go ahead and now create a storage container, but I don't know how to create a storage container and I don't know how to upload the files inside the storage container. Now one very important thing guys, let's understand this. So very small concept out here, but very important concept out here. Let's say you have a software known as Microsoft Storage Explorer. Using that particular software, you can upload blobs, you can delete containers, you can do a lot of things, right? But using that particular software, you're coming outside of Azure. You're not inside Azure. You're coming outside of Azure. You're using an external, software out here, and even PowerShell right now is an external software to Azure. So let's say if you want to upload blobs inside a container of a storage account that is already existing using a Microsoft Storage Explorer, what do you need? I have the Storage Explorer. I have the storage account. I now want to connect the Microsoft Storage Explorer with the storage account. So what do I really need out here? Anyone? We need to connect, okay. But how do we connect? Using the Storage Explorer. If you can do a recap, it'll be great. So if I have a storage, I basically have a Storage Explorer. So I have a Storage Explorer. So let's open my Storage Explorer. And I already have created, let's say, a storage account on the Azure portal. I now want to go ahead and connect to the storage account using this particular software known as the Storage Explorer. So what is the part that I need out here? Like what is the most connection string? So you will need something like a connection string or an access key, meaning some kind of an authentication technique for you to go ahead and, let's say, connect to this particular storage account. In the same way, even PowerShell is external, right? Even PowerShell is same. It's acting as an external software to go ahead and, let's say, interact with Azure. So this is acting the same way what Microsoft Storage Explorer is also doing. So let's do one thing. Let's try to understand what is, let's say, the command to go ahead and create a container. So if I don't know anything about it, I'll say create a storage container using PowerShell. This is what I'll type in, or this is my search query in Google. And it says, okay, find new hyphen Azure storage container or new hyphen AZ storage container, because I'm using AZ modules out here. So it's giving me a command telling that, okay, fine, this is your command, which is called new hyphen AZ storage container. This is the syntax. These are the examples. It says a very simple command, new hyphen AZ storage container, name of the container and the permission level of the container. Here the permission level is off, meaning it's private. If it is blob, then it's blob, it's container, it's container. So you don't have something known as a private here. If you say off, then there is no anonymous access. That's how Microsoft will treat this out. So let's do one thing. Let's come down. I'll just take the same command out here. I'll just copy this and I'll put it here. And instead of the container name, I'll give what? Dollar container name, the variable that I passed. It's a very simple one-liner command where I'm telling new hyphen AZ storage container hyphen name of the container hyphen the permission is off. Is something that I'm going ahead and declaring out. Is there anything else that you see that it is missing out here, guys? Anything else that is missing out here with this command? Location. Okay, so it'll take the same location as the storage account is. Okay, so anything else? Anything else do you see that, or whether someone feels that the command is incomplete, or shall we go ahead and try executing it out? Anyone, any inputs here? Just a second. I hope I'm recording the session. Yes, I am. Okay, good with this command. So let's try to execute this out. So let's say we'll execute this command out, and as and when I executed it, it's giving me an error out here. Okay, it's telling I could not get the storage context. Please pass in a storage context or set the current storage account context. One thing it's telling is that I understand that you want me to go ahead and create something known as a storage container. Great. The command for it is new hyphen AZ storage container. Great. But am I giving the name of the storage account anywhere? How will it understand that I'll have to create this container inside a particular storage account? Because this is again an independent command. Line number 8 had an independent command which went ahead and gave me or created something known as a storage account for me. Line number 11 had a different command out here which is new hyphen az storage container, and this is again an independent command. Now this command doesn't know under which storage account it should create a container in. It doesn't know this. So I'll have to tell it some way that please go ahead and create this particular container under a particular storage account, under this particular XYZ storage account. So can I do that? Let's say hyphen, I'll say storage account name. When I type in storage account name, there is no parameter that is coming up, which means that this particular command, new hyphen az something like that, doesn't support storage account name. It doesn't have a parameter known as name or storage account name, nothing. It doesn't have that particular parameter. Then how would I pass it? Is that firstly, let's do one thing. Before executing this line, I'll say storage. I'm just passing a value, a dummy parameter called as storage out here. And I'm saying is equal to get hyphen az storage account. And I'm saying resource group name is dollar rg name. Hyphen name of the storage account is dollar storage account name. And I'll just execute this line. And it said, okay, fine, I got something. And if I now basically only execute something known as a dollar storage, it's giving me the entire object. Now this is the entire object that contains the storage account name, the resource group name, the primary location, the SKU name, and etc. Now if I type in the blue screen, if I just say dollar storage, because this is something that I have. So dollar storage is giving me what? It's giving me everything. Blob, something, I mean, it's giving the name, the resource group name, and etc. If I want to filter out the storage account name, then what should I do here, guys? Dot storage account name, right? So let's say dot storage account name. It's giving me the name of the storage account. If I want to filter location, it will be dollar storage dot location or primary location, whatever the property is out there. I'll get the location, etc. In the same way, if I want to do, what I'll do right now is that I'll do a dollar storage dot context. I'm passing a value called context and I'm giving an enter, and this is what I am getting in return. I am getting the blob endpoint, the storage account name, the context value, the connection strings, which are very, very, very important in order to go ahead and create something. This command, which is called new hyphen az storage container, is expecting this context. It needs the entire context in order to go ahead and understand what are the connection strings, what are the blob endpoints, where do I go ahead and let's say create something known as a container out here. This is what it's expecting. So for this, what I'll do is that I'll say hyphen context. I have a parameter here called context, and I'll say it is dollar storage, whatever I got above dot context. This is how I am passing something known as a context object to this particular command, which is new hyphen az storage container. So I have a command and I'm passing the context value to it. And what I'm going to do is I'll just execute this particular line. And now it went ahead and created something known as a test container with a public access level as off. So let's look at that in the portal. I'll go into the portal. So this is the storage account. And once I open the storage account, I have something like, all the properties and etc. And once I'll go inside the containers, I have what? A test container, which was just created around 720.003. And there is no file inside it. There is no file, of course, inside it. I'll have to just go ahead and let's say upload all these files, and I'm programmatically uploading these files. I'm not trying to let's say upload these files manually. I'm trying to programmatically upload this file. So are we good till here, guys? Like, what is this context? Why have I taken this context? How I have taken this context? Are we good till here, guys? Any questions still here? Anyone? Any questions still here, guys? Yes, you'll have to assign that value to a variable. Like I am only doing it once in my script. this particular dollar storage will contain that value throughout my script. So I can call it anywhere in my script like dollar storage dot context. So this will act now as a global variable to me. Like to go throughout my scripts, it'll you can access this out. Any more questions here, guys? Any more questions here? Okay, so when we ended up, going ahead and creating something as a container out here. Now I would like to firstly, before going ahead and uploading the files, I would like to firstly understand what are all the files inside that particular folder called as C, Windows, temp, and etc. That is what I want to understand. First, I want to get every file inside it, and I then want to decide which file I should upload. This is what I want to do. So what I'll do out here is that in line number 14, now till here, I went ahead and created my container and etc. So step number 1 and 2 are done. Step number 1, creating the RG storage and everything is done. Step number 2, to go ahead and let's say create a container, is also done. Now I'm at step number 3, where I'm basically uploading all the files from a folder which are with an extension of .text or a .log or whatever it is. So what I'll do out here is that I firstly want to see what is inside this particular path. Whatever is inside this particular path, this is something that I want to get. So in order to see what is inside a path, now normally to get the services, what we did, we said get hyphen service. So to get something in PowerShell, we are doing a get hyphen command. In the same way, in order to get something or in order to read all the files inside a folder, I'll say get hyphen child item. Child item is nothing but a folder is a parent inside which all these are children. That is what it is considering this as. And I'm saying space hyphen path. And in the path value, I'm giving the dollar file path, because the dollar file path is holding the entire path here, right? So I'm saying it is dollar file path. This is what I'm doing. And let me clear the screen so that the output can be clear. And as and when I did that, it gave me everything inside this. It said D is directory, A is a file, and then it went ahead and gave me all the files that are with .temp, .log. It gave me a couple of folders. It did a lot of things out here. It said .log folders and everything. It went ahead and gave me all these things out. It's like Office Click Runner or .exe and everything. It gave me all these things out. Now I only want to filter out the files with an extension called .log. With an extension called something called .log. These are the log files basically I'm actually interested into. I want to take these files and I want to upload all these files into my container. So let's do that. Let's see. Now I have a couple of files which are other than .log. Like for example, I have a .tmp file, I have a .exe file, I have a lot of things inside this particular folder, and I only want to filter out. Now this is where I'm filtering things out, guys. Okay. So what I will do here is that in line number 16, I will say it is dollar files. Dollar files is equal to something like get child item path is equal to something like this path. And if I execute this out, dollar files will have all these files, like every command, everything that I have seen here, dollar files is holding all those things out. Now what I'll do is that in order to pass the output of this command as an input to the other command, I'll use a pipe. So I'm using a pipe or a pipeline, whatever that you can call this as. I'm using a pipe out here and I'm saying where hyphen object. I'm using a statement called where hyphen object, opening up curly braces out here, and I am saying whatever that you have here, consider this entire command to be an alias, meaning consider this entire thing to be an alias, and I'm using a value here called dollar underscore. These are called aliases in PowerShell, meaning whatever properties that you have here, whatever properties like the name, the file name, and everything is being now captured or it's being now transmitted into this particular value called dollar underscore. I'm just passing everything into this particular variable known as dollar underscore. Works with pipe. You should have a pipe to use this particular value or use this particular property in PowerShell. And I'm saying great, okay, fine. Now I only want, now this has like name and everything, right? So I say okay, fine, it is mode, last return time, length, and name, and etc. I'm saying dot name. So this dollar underscore consists of everything. Let's come back. This dollar underscore consists of all these things that you see on the screen: mode, last return time, length, name, and everything. I am saying dot, sorry, dollar underscore dot name is like, I'll say star star dot log. I'm using a wildcard, so I am okay if the file name is anything, like anything which ends with dot log. And if I now execute this command, if I now see what are in my files, I have only filtered out the files with an extension of what? Dot log. I have only filtered out dot log files out here. And I now want to, like, let's say I now want to declare that okay, fine, I only am interested to upload all the files that are starting with desktop, not the other files like mpcmd run dot something like that. This is something that I'm not interested in. Can someone tell me how can I filter that out, guys? Only starting with desktop. After desktop, whatever it is, I'm not concerned about it. But please, select all the files that are starting with desktop, ending with dot log. Can anyone tell me what can be my filtration logic here? So I've used a wildcard there, but wildcard is also giving me other files than the desktop. So what I'll do here is that before the star, I will say it is, so it can be desktop, whatever it is, like, because after desktop, it's like after desk, it's like desktop only, right? So I'm just giving a desk out here and I'm saying star star, meaning starting with desk, in between, I don't care what it is, ending with dot log. This is something that I want to filter out. And if I now execute this out and now see what is there inside files, I only have files that are starting with desktop, ending with dot log. I could have given even a desktop there, but I know that after desk it is stop only, like, so I did not want to go ahead and specify it explicitly. But you can go ahead and give that command out here. Now my files, right, has all these things out. It has all these things out, and I'm saying great. Now what I want to do is that for each and every file that is there in files, dollar files, right, is an array of files, not one file. It's an array of files. So for each file inside that particular dollar files, I want to take it and I want to upload it inside the blob. I want to upload it inside the container as a blob. So what I'll do out here is that firstly, I'll use a for each loop. Great. So I'll use what? A for each loop out here. Say for each dollar file in files. I will say, okay, fine. I will say the command in order to upload this file into a storage blob is called set-az blob content. So if I just type this in, the set-az blob content. So it's saying, okay, fine, set-az storage blob content. This is what it is. This will upload the files into an existing container. This is what it is. So content is nothing but whatever files that you have, and it's telling, okay, fine, please go ahead and upload this out. And you have a couple of examples out here telling that, okay, fine, set-az blob content, the container name is this, the file is this, blob is something like this, and of course you need to pass a context value to it. you also need to pass a context value to it. So I'm coming down here. I'm saying set hyphen az storage blob content. This is the content that I want to upload. And now I'll say, okay, find the name of the blob, or the file path, whatever it is. I can say it is what? What should I pass here, guys? Dollar file, dollar file. Let's say dollar file. I'm passing dollar file, and I'm now saying, okay, find the container. The name of the container is dollar container name. This is the name of the container. Finally, I'm saying context. I'm passing on a context because I need the connection strings. I need a lot of things out here. So again, I'm saying dollar storage, dot context. So whatever that I've captured in, let's say, line number 11, I'm reusing it in line number what? 20. And I'll now say, okay, fine, this is great. I'll execute this out. And I started getting errors. So it says cannot find the argumented file, specified file path cannot be found, and it gave me a huge error telling me that okay, fine, I am not able to get all these things out. There is, I am not able to, find all these things out and all that stuff. Can anyone tell me what is the error that I've like, kind of made looking at this particular thing? So for each and every file, it gave me this error. Like whatever I'm trying to do, it went ahead and gave me this error. It says, I cannot find specified file. I cannot find this and all that stuff. Can anyone tell me what error that we're making here? Okay, but the file already has a path, right? So let's do one thing then. Let's do a different thing out here. So let's say if I'm not giving a proper path here, let's do one thing. I'll do a cd in the path. I'm in the path right now. So let's again try this out. And it is now going ahead and it is now uploading that particular file inside that particular file path. Let's see after this is completed about what is it and everything. So what I'm doing right now is that I am right now uploading every file here into this particular container. So I'm getting all the files firstly, filtering all these files, and I'm going ahead and I'm uploading everything out. This is what I am doing right now. So working, yes, great. And I am uploading multiple files inside it at the same time. That is using a program like PowerShell script. Any questions still here, guys? Any questions? Anyone till here?
Can you explain it again, please?
Sure. So which part is something that you've missed so that
The
I can
last one,
explain?
the before upload, right?
This one, the line number 16.
Yeah, line number 6. Yeah, after container we like how to upload the file from there.
Right. So after container, we have to upload the file. So what I did is that I said, please get this child item, meaning go inside that particular folder known as C Windows temp and get all the files here. So it went ahead, gave me all the folders, all the files inside this particular path. Now I am saying that, okay, fine, please go ahead, use something like a pipeline here. And I'm saying where object dollar underscore now is representing everything that is before the pipe. And I said dot name is like desktop or desk dot log file. This is what I'm getting. And the dollar files is now an array of things. It's an array and it is now telling me, okay, fine, great. And I need to iterate over this array, meaning I need to take each and every file out of this array and now upload into that particular storage container. So what I did is that I said for each file in this particular file, I said set hyphen az storage blob content dollar file is equal to Sorry, file is equal to dollar file, container is equal to dollar container, context is equal to storage dot context. This is what I went ahead and did. Is that okay?
Yeah, for declaring an array, we
Mhm.
use something in star, right? So how will we
No.
identify is it an array? Dollar files.
So for declaring an array, what we did is that to declare a null array, we said it is $x is equal to at the rate open parenthesis and close parenthesis. But here, when I'm saying it is dollar file is equal to something, in return it's getting an array. So this particular dollar file is itself, getting converted into an array. So why did I tell that this is an array? Is because dollar file or dollar files here, this doesn't contain one value. It contains an array of values. It's a
Okay.
collection of all these values. So that's how I'm
What
telling
is
it's an array.
okay? It's capturing all the files with the name desktop, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Mhm.
It's not just
So
one
no need
single
to
collection.
okay, no need to externally declare it. If you
No,
just
no need to externally declare it. No.
okay,
So
okay,
when I'm declaring this particular parameter, is itself converting it into an array.
all right, got it. Thanks, Kiran.
Any more questions here, guys? So get content is like, let's say if you have a file, if you want to go inside that file and look at what is there inside that file, it'll be a get content. If you have a folder and if you want to see what is inside that folder, it is child item. Sorry, error. Yes. So we got an error here. Set hyphen something because I haven't passed the path externally. So it was going into that particular file and it was like, going into the particular folder that I was earlier into. I was trying to look for that file. So after I changed the path and then did a for each, the line number 18 to 23 got executed successfully. Okay. Any more questions with this, guys?
So similar way, can we also copy
Mhm.
folders?
You can also copy folder, but the thing here is that you'll have to understand one thing is that this particular container, right? This is, let's say, a virtual container out here. Like, let's say this is sitting somewhere in the cloud,
Hmm.
and this doesn't support really folders out here. You'll have to firstly upload a blob, and only then a folder will be created. So, an entire folder is something that you cannot basically go ahead and, let's say, yeah, I mean, directly copy the folder out here using PowerShell. You'll have to again go
Okay,
inside that folder, copy that files, and create a folder.
okay.
So, an
First,
entire
we need
folder
to
conversion is not possible.
okay. Either we need to create a folder and then copy in the same pa in the using the same path. Can we
Yes.
do that?
Yes, you can do that. You cannot upload multiple folders at the same time. So if you want to upload a multiple folder, right, you'll have to use Microsoft Storage Explorer. Explorer supports that. Explorer supports uploading the entire folder into the container, but PowerShell doesn't support it. PowerShell supports files. You can create folders. That's a different thing. You can create a folder, but it will not support uploading the entire folder inside it. You can use the Storage Explorer as well. So what happens is that, let's say you need an entire flow, storage account, then container, then let's say the files inside it. You don't need a manual intervention at all. So using a Storage Explorer, you can achieve it, but it has some amount of manual intervention, right? So you want to eliminate that particular manual intervention, then PowerShell is the way to go. So it depends upon what you're trying to achieve as such. Let's say if I have like different teams altogether that is coming to me, like somewhere around 7 to 8 teams in an organization, and they want something like this particular setup out there. You can just write a script, give it to them, and say, you know what, go ahead, upload this out. You don't need a DevOps engineer right now. The files will get uploaded automatically. This is what I can tell them. So that's the advantage what automation gives me here. Like using the Mhm. Yes, right. Explorer. So Yes, you can get both the access, but using PowerShell, you can also upload a folder, meaning you can upload a file and then create a folder while you're uploading the file. So you can do that using PowerShell. You can do that. So you don't actually need, let's say, to kind of go into the storage explorer and upload this out. No, you cannot create a folder manually out here. So what happens here is that, let's say I want to upload a file, okay? So you cannot create a folder without having a blob. You need to have at least one blob to create a folder. For example, let's say I want to create a folder here. So I do not have an option to create a folder. For example, let's say I have some file out here. I'm just saying open and advanced. I'll say upload to a folder. I'll say images. Now I have a folder known as images. Now since we have so many things out here, it's chronologically ordering everything. So I'll say images. I have now a folder created. So it's a virtual folder. Like it's not actually a folder, but it's just like a placeholder for your files and everything. You can do this using PowerShell, but you need to upload the file inside to create a folder. Okay. So you cannot have an option to directly go ahead and create the folder as such. Without any files, you cannot create a folder. No, empty folder doesn't exist. So that's the reason what we do is, like, let's say when we want to create multiple folders for a team, we use something like a readme file. We put a blank readme file there and we upload that particular file and create a folder. Just an empty file. Any more questions here, guys? Yes. No, what can happen is that, let's say when I am especially using this particular automation, I will place my script in the same path where my folders are or where my files to be uploaded are. So in that way, you don't have to do a CD and change the path because you don't know where that files are and everything, right? So I'll place this PowerShell script in the same folder where all these files to be uploaded are. So it can get wherever it is and it will just upload this out. Okay. Now the assignment that I have for you all, and this is something that we will discuss, but I want you all to try it out. So I need a PowerShell script, guys, okay, which will create an RG, a storage account, just like the way we did right now. Let's say it is not just one storage account, it is three storage accounts. So you can use a for or for each, whatever it is. I mean, whichever you're convenient with, you can go ahead and use this out. And under each storage, I need five containers. I need five containers each. Under each and every storage account, I need five containers each. The name of the container should be something like test 01, 02, 03, 04, 05. This is what the name of the container should be. And under each and every container, upload multiple files. This is what I want you to try it. Now this requires a lot of looping concepts, like a loop inside a loop, a loop inside a loop. This is what we can try it out. Just try this out. Firstly, just give it an attempt. I will take this again tomorrow. Like we can take this assignment that how do I approach the script? What should be my understanding while approaching the script and etc. So my suggestion would be divide the script. Firstly, try to go ahead and create storage accounts. If that succeeded, then go ahead and let's say create containers inside it. That succeeded, go ahead and upload files inside. So do one at a time so that it'll be easy for you to understand how you are breaking your script and etc. Okay. Any questions with this assignment, guys? Anything? Yes. Now you will get multiple contexts because your storage accounts are not one but many. So each and every storage account will have its own context. So it now matters that how do you hold that context and how do you pass it to your script further. So now you do not have one context globally. You'll have to set your context every time when you're working on a different storage account. Okay. Right. So to connect to the servers, you have something known as PS remoting. You have something called as remote sessions and everything. You can do that. We'll talk about that when we go into the server, that what a server is and what a virtual machine is and everything. So you have something known as remote sessions on a server and etc. You can do that. Yeah. Yeah, you can get Explorer access as well. Like you're not limited to anything. Like you can have multiple, like you can have everything and anything what I have in a PSU. Okay, one final thing out here, guys, is that yes, this is great. Like I'm reading things and everything, but in the real-time environment, right? What we would like to do is that we'd like to hold the configuration of all these things into a file and read from that file. Let's say I have three different teams, and these three different teams have different requirements. That let's say the storage account should be created, let's say with this particular name, in this particular location, in this particular tier, and I want to hold that configuration, meaning whatever they are telling, I want to hold it, let's say, into a file. I just want them to give me a file. That's it. Let's give me a file. Let's say this is the name and this is everything, and I want to read from it. Okay, this can be done using the text file also. Let's say, for example, I have a text file out here where I say, let's say the name of a student is something like Kiran, class is something like 8 a.m., and subject is something like DevOps. I'm holding the configuration here. I'm just saying save this file out, and I'll say, okay, fine, there is a folder called file handling. Let's do one thing. Let's create a new folder, and let's say files, and I'll say this is student details.txt. I'm just saving this file out here. Okay. Now what I'll do out here is that I'll just go into that particular folder. I'll just shift myself into that particular folder. Into the folder right now, I'll just do a CLS and I'll open up a new tab here into the PowerShell. Now I want to read what is there inside this file. If I want to read what is there inside this file, now the command comes known as get hyphen content. So I'll say get hyphen content hyphen path. And since I'm working in the same path, I can do a dot backslash student details.txt and I can execute this out. Now I am able to get, okay, fine, the student details and everything. Now I am just getting the raw data here. Like this is not the best way to store your files. I'm just getting a raw data here. But when you try to, when you basically work on a real-time environment, you would rather be working with something like Excel files, or if, let's say if I extend this out, Excel is also, let's say, something like an administrative tool. Like yes, basic purpose solves a lot of things. But if I want to extend this out, I would use something called as a serialization language, like a JSON or an XML. Now, what is a serialization language? Is that now let's say you have multiple applications talking to each other. Now they have a standard language in which they're talking. They have a certain set of agreed languages which they're talking. These languages are called, I mean, these languages are in the format of, let's say, XML, JSON, YAML. All these things are agreed upon formats. So let's do one thing. If I want to, let's say, store the same details in something like a JSON format, I'm talking about something known as a JSON file, and JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Called JavaScript Object Notation, and it has a particular format in which the file has to be written in. So let's see how to write that how to write that format and etc. But I won't take that today because we have limited time and I don't want to rush into it. But I will just say that I need some help from you all. So what I need to you all to do is that please download a software known as VS Code. Okay, please have, before you come tomorrow, please have us. I mean, please download a software known as VS Code. So I'll say download VS Code, called Visual Studio Code. It's a multi-purpose software. You can use it for multiple things out here. We'll start using this particular software from now. So I'll just say download VS Code. I'll go into this particular path. I'll go into this particular link and I'll just say Windows. Since I'm operating on a Windows operating system, I'll say Windows. If you're coming from a Mac, you can say Mac. Or if you're on Linux, you can say Linux. And once you hit on the download, you will get an executable file. Very simple, download and installation procedure. And please have it installed and you'll get the icon something like this. It's called VS Code. You can use this. You can do a lot of serialization languages using one particular software. So this is a software that will be coming back throughout the course. Like, this is one software which I'll tell you how to use it and how to make the best use of it and etc. You can also write PowerShell scripts in VS Code and etc. So you can also do that. Instead of PowerShell ISC, you can also use VS Code in order to write PowerShell scripts and all. So we'll look at this particular software, but in today's class, these are two things that I need. So one is the assignment that we were talking about, is that create 3 storage accounts, create 5 containers inside each, and go ahead and upload a lot of files inside it. And then we said, okay, fine, how do you just hold the configuration in a text file and how do you read it? By using a command known as get content, and it'll just display it out. Now, going further, we'll see, okay, fine, how do you hold the same thing in, let's say, something like a JSON structure? And we'll start tomorrow with something known as JSON. We'll see how to write a JSON file, and we'll see how to read a JSON file using PowerShell script and what all you can do with that. Okay. Any questions before we close today, guys? And please have the VS Code downloaded. Okay, please get the VS Code downloaded, and so that we can take the best advantage of the class starting tomorrow. Okay. Then no further questions, and we can go to close the session, guys. And we'll meet tomorrow. We'll discuss more on this. Thank you.